Hey, what's up, everybody? I want to thank you all for coming to the channel, liking the content, and subscribing. I'm glad everybody's finding the content helpful, and I just hope to keep pumping out more that will help you get your start in real estate. Today, I'm going to be talking about wholesaling. I've got two guys that are going to share their experiences on why they got into wholesaling, how they got started, and also their biggest deals in California. So if you're excited about it, I am too. Let's get started. All right, so what's up, everybody? Today I've got an excellent topic lined up with two great gentlemen that I've been working with. Today we're going to cover wholesaling, especially here in California. And so with that, I want to go ahead and introduce my guys here. So if you could introduce yourselves.
Hey, my name is Deontay King, and I'm a wholesaler.
Yeah, my name is Jonah Corchin, same wholesaler also.
Cool.
So yeah.
So can you guys give me kind of like a technical definition of what wholesaling is?
Do you want to do it or do you want me to do it?
Okay. So for me, I think wholesaling is when you have a property under contract, you act as a buyer pretty much, and you sign a contract to an end buyer.
Which, yeah, and going more into it, basically what we do is we find people who need help in some sort of way. That's really, like, at least for me, that's what really makes the difference between like a successful wholesaler and a non-successful wholesaler, is having that mind switch of you're a problem solver, right? Like, that's the very, very simple technical definition. But also, like, to really be successful in a lot of ways, you have to think about like what like a seller is thinking and how can I solve whatever problem they're dealing with, whether it's pre-foreclosure, anything like that. And yeah, going off of that.
Okay. So you kind of see your role as an intermediary in terms of helping them solve their real estate troubles, if you will.
Yeah.
In terms of getting rid of a property or moving into their next property, you're just part of that process.
Yeah, and I mean, I think like especially for direct to seller stuff, like the most important thing is thinking about, okay, how am I actually helping this other human being, right? Like, it's not just about, I think too many people think about how much money they're gonna make or how much they're making money, instead of being like, okay, how can I honestly solve this human being's problem? Like, do I understand like the ins and outs of how a bank thinks for like foreclosures, for instance? And if you don't, that's okay. Finding and leveraging somebody who does know that. Like, for instance, this is just going off of one deal. Like, I have a deal right now that the person is in pre-foreclosure, but a lot of times when somebody's in pre-foreclosure, they kind of stick their head into the sand.
Oh yeah.
Right? And then once they do that, like, they'll call you the day before the foreclosure date and like, or they're like, help me. And I'm like, okay. So it's not even necessarily knowing how to talk to a bank, but at least knowing somebody who knows how to do it. So somebody I wanted to plug on here real quick is a lady named Rochelle Jarvis. She owns this company called Constant Close, and she's a transaction coordinator that is very skilled and adept at things like talking to a bank and negotiating with a bank. I guess where I'm going with this is the basic, at its most basic core, being a wholesaler is being a problem solver.
Okay.
That's like the one line sentence. Like, your job is to help people solve problems, and the better you are at doing that, the more money you're going to make.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I think in real estate, a lot of people kind of have that same at base level function of helping people solve problems with real estate, because most people think of real estate right now in terms of like how the market's moving and all that there's no real work that has to be done to move a property. But like if you're in multiple transactions, you quickly understand that like there's more than just sticking a sign out front and saying, all right, let's sell the property. There's a lot more in it. So for you guys, how did you get started? Like, what made you want to get into wholesaling?
I mean, honestly, for me, it's kind of funny how it started, man. I was with a friend, well, let me be honest. I was dating this girl at one time, and she was a real estate agent, right? And my sister was talking to her about wholesaling. Me, I'm like, yeah, that's definitely not me. Like, can't be, like, but it was always in the back of my mind to be in real estate. Just didn't know how I was going to enter real estate.
Okay.
You know, so anyway, long story short, she ended up telling her about it. And then, like, you know, some time went on, and I was, you know, my brother in Christ, man, he kind of told me, my brother was shy, man, he kind of told me, like, bro, I think you're really killing it in, like, real estate. And I was just like, yeah, nah, whatever. That's why it's important to have people in your corner that's going to support your dreams no matter what. Because, you know, when I was telling my actual brother about it, you know, he didn't really, he told me right, but it kind of dimmed my fire, you know what I mean? Like, he was telling me, like, I think you should get a mentor. I don't know anything about it, but, you know, I think you should get a mentor. Because I was, like, had this heavy, like, you know, feeling of investing on my spirit, you know. So, and I told him about it, and he was pretty much like, man, you know, just have a mentor before you go into it. I don't know nothing about it. Yeah, whatever. So I started looking into a whole bunch of stuff. So when he told me about it, my brother in Christ told me about it, I was like, yeah, I don't know, man. It kind of dimmed my fire a little bit. You know, but, you know, moments went over, time went by, and, you know, I was doing Lyft on the side, and I was pursuing commercial electrician at the time, and, you know, one day I just thought about it, man. I was like, I'm driving past these buildings, I'm like, do you want to sell the building, or do you want to put electrical in the building? I'm like, light bulbs.
Or do you want to buy the building,
Right.
bro? Or do you want to buy, you want to own
Right,
the building?
you want to own the building. So, you know, light bulb switched, man, and, you know, I started really, like, investing a lot of time and energy into studying and all of that stuff, man, and, you know, and then I joined the program. So, I mean, like, that really, that right there really kind of set the stone for me, man, what I wanted to do and how I was going to do it, and getting into real estate, wholesaling, and then, you know, flipping and so forth and so on.
Yeah. So for me, I knew the first time I ever like even heard about real estate was the classic Rich Dad Poor Dad. Like obviously, like I feel like everybody's read that book at this point. If you haven't, read it for sure.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
It's a great book. But back then, I wasn't like that interested in real estate. I just didn't see it as the route that I would become rich personally at the beginning. I kind of went on a very interesting route to real estate in a lot of ways. Like once I graduated college, I actually went into the Peace Corps, and then I came back, and then I didn't know what I wanted to do. I had like all these like ideas of what I wanted to do, like writing a book or like random ideas, because I didn't know what to do at that point. Like every step up till college is basically predefined by my family, more or less, and then the Peace Corps was like right afterwards, and that was kind of more of a structured thing. And then I left, or I got out of that, and then I came back. I'm like, damn, I don't know. I guess I got to get a job or whatever. And then I remember I had done tons of job interviews. I was hating it. I hated every single moment of it. They were all like salesman jobs. And then I went to one where I'd be selling insurance. They like gave me the job, and then I was driving home, and in my head I was like, it can't end like this. It cannot end with me becoming an insurance salesman. And so after that, I was like, I have to figure out some way to do this, like some sort of way, like to like make my life what I want it to be. And I just kind of, I don't even remember what the click was. I think I just started thinking about like, maybe I should go to some real estate meetups. I went to a few real estate meetups right before the pandemic, and I was trying to, figure it out. It's like, my philosophy is to like buy and hold. I guess I can try to do that, but then I don't have any money. So how do you get in it without money? Mm-hmm. And then I found out about wholesaling. And I'm like, this is perfect. Like, I consider myself pretty good as just like a salesman in general, and like being able to present myself. And it's just like the perfect business model for me. There's like no inventory. Everybody already wants the product. And it's just really like at that point, really wholesaling is just connecting with other human beings well. Mm-hmm. That's how you do it well. So yeah, and then after that I was like, I want to do this. I want to start wholesaling, and that's how I got into it.
So when you started, what was the first step for you? Did you like go and read books? What helped you get your start in wholesaling?
Do you want to start, or you want me to start?
I'll do it. Me, honestly, it was YouTube. YouTube anniversary. Like honestly, man, I read the Rich Dad Poor Dad, of course, and then I was watching a whole lot of YouTube content. And it was just like I was getting to this point where it's like, okay, I got all this information, I know all this stuff, but I'm not putting in no action.
Mm-hmm.
You know, then I got analysis paralysis, man. So I mean, that's how I really got into it. It's just like reading and watching a whole lot of YouTube channels and just studying it for myself. Honestly, man, just study and just put in that action. You have to put forth the action because nothing's going to come forth if you don't put in action.
Okay.
Ask the question again. Remember what you asked?
Oh, so how did you get started? What was the process of getting
Once
yourself started?
once we decided that we
Yes.
wanted to do it.
Once you made the decision, what was the step that?
So yeah, I mean the initial steps for sure were exactly like Deontay said, like YouTube University, a lot of Max Maxwell, you guys know him. There's a bunch of other people like that, TTP. There's all sorts of people I could go into that were like the guys to watch for sure.
Right.
They were definitely the initial steps, and then I kind of started doing it. Eventually, like it's really interesting. So this is kind of transitioning sort of into how me and Deontay met. Was we're part of a program called Astro Flipping, and in this program, it's basically it's like a wholesaling course, but it's very unique in a lot of ways. I think for two different reasons. Like one is it's the actual guy who created it has a Zoom with everybody like twice a week, which is pretty sick, and that helped me an incredible amount. Because when you're starting, I mean, you literally have no idea how to do anything whatsoever. Like, you gotta be like, well, damn, where do I even get a purchase contract from? Like, what is what is escrow?
Right.
Like, I remember being like, I am so confused and just trying to figure it out. So that program really helped in the sense of like getting my bearings, and then also it went beyond that and actually taught you the more complicated stuff as well, as like how do you even analyze a property? How do you find out what a buyer is willing to pay for a property that needs fixing? How much will it cost to do X, and all the other complicated stuff along with the basic stuff. So I was pretty blessed to find that program, I'd say, and I think like depends on your financial situation, right? Because I mean the course wasn't cheap.
Yeah.
Like if you have zero money, you can't start that way, but for sure, if you have zero money, just do the YouTube University, do the driving for dollars, do the cold calling, do everything you can to just get that first check. And then I would take that first check and immediately like find a verified mentor. You gotta like make sure they're doing deals in the business.
Yes.
And there are ways to do that too. Once you're sure the person is actually doing deals and is doing what you want to do, then pay for a mentorship or course or something like that. That should be the number one first expense before anything else, in my opinion, because that's just skyrocketed me at least into like where I am today.
So with your
quicker.
mentor, what do you think are probably the 2 or 3 most important things that you've learned or gotten in terms of knowledge from your mentor?
Man, you want to start with that? You want me to do that one? I mean, the most important thing, in my opinion, and this is something we talk about a lot on the course, is the most important thing is mindset.
Yeah.
That's the base level.
Yeah.
The base level is like
that's everything.
It's literally everything, and it's everything in life and business and just everything else is like you're getting that straight is so much more important than most people realize. Like I remember on one of the Zooms with him, me and him had a whole conversation about just being like me learning. This is just a hilarious example of like me learning finally at 26 being like, oh, that's why you should make your bed, is because it like helps you for the rest of the day.
Yes.
It's not because your mom told you to. It's because when you do that, your mind subconsciously is like, oh, we're organized, we're ready to go. The room is set for you to be able to do the rest of your day.
Mm-hmm.
And like your mom never tells you that's the reason to do it. And until literally last year, I hadn't made my bed consistently every day, and now I do that because I understand it affects my mindset. I would say that's like the number one thing that he taught me, in the sense of like figuring that stuff out is way more important than any deals, because the deals won't happen without that. I would say that's like number one, and then everything else is just like technical stuff. Because I mean, I think that in and of itself is 85% of it, at least.
Having the mindset or the
The mindset.
The mindset, yes.
Yeah.
I can definitely vouch for that.
Yeah.
I think I've done some training for real estate agents, and that's the first thing they work on, is getting your mind focused and kind of keeping your spirits in check with where you need to be in terms of being successful. Because like if you walk into anything with kind of a Eeyore type of attitude, you're going to get that same type of result back in terms of your success. So how much of your learnings with your mentor, if you had to break it down per hours or percentage of the time that you interacted with him, was about just mindfulness and your mindset?
No, I wouldn't say it.
I don't know about percentage. I don't know if it's even necessarily, like, I don't want to say we don't talk about wholesaling a lot. Here's an example. I guess here's an easy way to break it down. So in this course, there's 6 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
The first week is all just mindset.
Okay.
So I want to say that, like, if you had to choose a percentage, a sixth, but it's the most important sixth for the rest of it. It's like saying, like, how percentage-wise, how much of a house is the foundation?
Right.
It's like, yeah, it's only like a sixth, but also the entire house is going to crumble without the foundation.
Right.
There's no house without the foundation. Like, you can do without a bathroom or an extra bathroom, but every house needs a foundation. And like, I guess it's the emphasis on that, especially, I think, is what, at least for me, was the most important thing, that I'm like, this is way more important than I think most people realize. Because I feel like at least when I started, I was very focused on getting the deal, instead of like being like making myself in the right mindset where I'll be able to get the deal, which is different, if that makes sense.
No, it makes total sense.
Yeah.
Total sense.
So.
And so, I guess in the rest of your course, what were the other talking points that the mentor had for you? Was it just about understanding a real estate transaction, how to go out and network and find buyers?
Yeah.
What did that look like?
Yeah, I mean, the rest of it is, I mean, what's really cool about this course, again, it's called Astro Flipping. Jamil Damji, we can like plug him too. I mean, he's a beast of his own. I think he might be like, he's either like the second or first biggest wholesaler in the country. Like he has like franchises. It's called Keegley franchises across the nation now. I mean, the rest of the course after that is like, there's stuff where it's like there's the second week is basically like, basic stuff like what I was talking about before. What is escrow? How does the escrow process work? How does this work? What are different strategies in wholesaling, or not in wholesaling, just in real estate in general, like just general real estate knowledge. And then what's really cool about this course and his business model in general, there are two sides to wholesaling, right? There's the acquisitions of the property, which means when you get the contract, and then there's the disposition side, which is when you sell the contract to the buyer. The vast majority of people focus on the acquisition side, focus on getting a contract from a seller, while he focuses and we focus more on the disposition side, which is finding a buyer for that deal. And so that's what I think really makes it more unique and what's really cool about it. And it goes way more into that about how to, network with agents, network with wholesalers, and like make it so that you're the one finding buyers for the deal, which is, it's cool because I think very few wholesalers do it in comparison to everybody who's cold calling and stuff. So that's what I would say.
Okay. All right, so that's a great explanation. So I guess if you could just kind of share what a day in the life of a wholesaler is like in your world.
So for me, it's just getting up early, pretty much knowing your tasks that you're about to do before you do it, calling, agents or, viewing properties, writing up offers, sending them out, pretty much going to see properties. Yeah, pretty much that's it, man. That's what I do. I like cold call different agents, or, like we have an agent that we work with specifically, like yourself, that finds properties for us, and then, we do all the work after that. So that's pretty much my side, the acquisition, and then this is my disco guy right here.
This is how we've been working together a lot. Is Deontay's more of the acquisition side for like our relationship, and I work on the dispositions. And again, our strategy is kind of unique in the sense that we don't do that much direct to seller. Meaning we don't like cold call sellers really. Like do you do that?
No, I don't.
Like I used to do that, and I've gotten deals that way, and I've gotten really like good deals that way. But we've started, or at least I've started transitioning where we utilize other wholesalers, other agents, and other flippers who need help finding buyers, because I have over 650 buyers in the Bay Area now, and there's power in having that many buyers. I think it's something that not a lot of people talk about. Is like everyone says find the deal, there'll be a buyer. It's like, yeah, but also like if you have that many buyers, it's much more likely whatever property you have turns into a deal. So I mean, it's I just want to explain that in the sense if people were confused as to why his daily tasks are contacting agents instead of contacting sellers. But yeah, I mean, my daily tasks change every day. So, some things are always the same. Like I have a goal of contact. I do Facebook outreach, and so what I do is I contact at least 80 new people a day. That's always done. I have a VA who does it now, a virtual assistant, but that's the lifeblood of my business. It's like making sure I'm outreaching to new people every single day, making sure I'm following up, seeing if anybody has any new properties that they need help finding a buyer for, and there are lots of little consistent things I do every day, that being one of them, and that's also just getting more into what makes you successful as a wholesaler. It's all about the little consistent things you do every single day. That is way more important than like the big things that you like think are super important, like sending out like negotiating, for instance. I think people put way too much credit towards in comparison to if let's say you're doing direct to seller, let's say you're cold calling and doing all of that, make sure you do your outreach, your cold calling, make sure you hit whatever goal it is, 200 cold calls a day, and do not do it. Always do it every single day, and you're bound to be successful. Like, I think even if you're a terrible negotiator, if you just cold call 200 people a day within a year, you'll get a deal. I think it's almost impossible if you literally do it every single day.
So when you're doing your outreach, so are you looking for sellers of property? Are you looking for buyers that are looking for deals?
We're looking for all of it.
So
we're trying to find everybody and anybody who works in real estate, damn near. Like, this business is, and you know this, Vincent, this business is all about relationships. The more people you know, the more power you can have to get things done.
Yes.
I mean, like, for instance, I've made a relationship with a hard money lender that's so well, and I know she's so good that when a flipper comes to me and says something like we had a property earlier, it was like this one in Oakland, and it didn't work out, but one of the reasons why it wasn't working out was because one of the buyers was like, yeah, I need 27 days to close. And I'm like, why do you need 27 days to close? That's an insane amount of time. Are you
Right.
using a bank? And
Exactly.
he's like, no, like my private money lender just needs that much time, and he gives really good rates. It's like, okay, how about this? I have a hard money lender who can close in 10 days. She's amazing. She's really good. She gives pretty competitive rates. What if we like connect you with her? And it didn't work out on that deal, but I've had it where having that relationship made it so that a deal worked out, and made it so that the deal could close on time, and it wouldn't have happened unless I had a lender in my back pocket as well.
I guess that's part of what you were saying earlier about being a problem solver.
Right.
Because not only did you go out and source a property and then find the buyer, but you also helped find the lender to help make the transaction happen.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I love about real estate is like it's literally just it's like a team sport, and you just got to put in all the right players at the right time in order to get the touchdown. That's like what real estate is, in my opinion, and that's what I think our business model is mainly is connecting it together. And any other wholesalers, even if you are direct to seller, like it will help a lot. The more people you know, and the more things you can do for buyers as well, like that. Lending is a huge one. I'm trying to think of other things I've done to make like buyers happy. Like another great thing is like I've had flippers send me properties where they're like, hey, I know you are doing really well in wholesaling in the Bay Area. Can you sell this property for me? And it's like, great. And like if you start building those relationships with your buyers as well, they'll even turn into a lead source. So like it can go all the way around in so many different ways if you just know more people.
All right, so a lot of people say that it's difficult to wholesale in California. Is that true? Like, can you dispel that myth or validate it?
Want me to, or you want me to do it?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I mean, California, I don't really understand it. I don't know why people think it's like particularly hard to wholesale in California. Like it doesn't really make much sense to me. I mean, if there's a will, there's a way, and like we were talking about before. First off, California is huge, so it depends which part of California, right? Mm-hmm. So we live in the Bay Area. In the Bay Area, it's quote unquote harder in the sense to find the deal, but when you get the deal, you get way bigger of a spread, right? Like I've noticed based on my deals, and like I've been talking about this whole interview, I mainly do the disposition side, which generally if you're on the disposition side, you're going to get paid less because you're not the contract holder, which means you're kind of more at the will of the acquisition wholesaler. Because as a disposition wholesaler, what I do, and this is probably pretty good to get into, is what I do is I get an option to assign from the guy who holds the contract. Because this is also really good just as a technical thing for wholesaling. We're not agents. So it's illegal to market a property unless you're an agent. Why we can market properties is because we're not actually marketing the property, we're marketing the contract.
Yes.
Which is very, very different. And it might seem like like what's the difference, but it's very different in the eyes of the law. So you always have to have what's called equitable interest, which means you either have to have a purchase contract that you're going to sign, or you can have an option you can have an option, which is an option to assign. This is getting technical. So getting into an option basically is more or less I have the option. How do I explain this right? I have the option to buy the contract or have them assign it to me. And then I can market that option in the same way that I'd market the purchase contract. That's a real sidestep from what I was talking about. But basically, you get less money more often on the disposition side, which is what I do.
Okay.
And I still probably average $30K a deal.
Okay.
While in most of the other markets, like the disposition side, probably like usually gets like 10K a deal. And like, I mean, acquisitions here, if you're doing direct to seller in the Bay Area, you can make like 150K off of a wholesale deal. Like, it's possible. I know people
Wow.
who do that. Like, it can get that high, and again, it's really hard to get those deals, but the spreads are ridiculously huge. But yeah, so I mean, it's hard-ish in the Bay Area in the sense that it'll take you longer to get that first deal. But when you get it, it'll be as though you've gotten 3 deals somewhere else. Let's say,
Okay.
if that makes sense. So it's a trade-off. That doesn't matter if you're dedicated to it in the end. If that makes sense. Like if you've done what we were talking about before, the mindset switch from
Yes.
like the mindset switch, really that's the most important, especially in entrepreneurship, is the I want to do it to I have to do it to the I must do it.
Yeah.
If you've already made that switch, it doesn't matter where. Like California's a great market. Like, it doesn't make any difference. It just might take you a little longer, and that's only in the Bay Area though. Like in Sacramento and in the Central Valley, like I think it's basically just the same as like Phoenix or anywhere else. Like I don't like, especially in those markets. I think when people say it's harder in California, they're thinking of like San Francisco, LA type of areas, and maybe San Diego. But there are markets here where it's exactly the same anyways, and it's just as easy or like just as hard as anywhere else in the country. So yeah.
Can you explain to the people that are watching what you meant by the acquisition side versus the disposition side
Yeah.
of wholesaling?
So there's 2 different parts to wholesaling. There's the acquisitions, which somebody somehow gets a purchase contract.
So they've written an offer and gotten it accepted somewhere.
That's the acquisition side. The acquisition side is the entire process from sourcing a lead, talking to the lead, and then signing a contract. Once the contract is signed, then it switches to the disposition side, which is which is basically finding a buyer for that deal. And so that's the main difference between the two. And like we were talking about before, most wholesalers focus on the acquisition side, which is important, but it's just as important, I'd argue, the disposition side, where you're, finding a buyer. Anyone can create a purchase contract, but it's not a deal until you find a buyer anyways. So,
True.
Yeah, that's the difference between those two.
Okay. And so far, like, what's been your biggest deal that you guys have done?
The one that we're doing, that's my first deal actually. Yeah, because I got it 6 months ago, maybe. Just doing a whole bunch of study. Been in the program for about 2 months now, and I just got my deal with some gentleman. So probably 30K, my biggest deal. I mean, we had other under contract, but they didn't work out. It just didn't have enough equity, and there was a lot of problems with the property as well. So.
Okay.
Talk about it more. Talk about how I almost screwed it up.
Okay, so I kind of. He feels like he almost screwed us out of the deal, but I kind of helped with that because I didn't take detailed pictures. I didn't have a story when I was taking pictures of the property. I was just like kind of all over the place. So he didn't know where I was and how I was. He was like, "Dude, what is this?"
So it's interesting. Yeah. So like, as a part of your process, what you're doing then is once you get in the contract, then you go and you kind of give your view of what the property is from an investor, I guess, perspective. Yeah, then go back out to the market and say, here, buyers, this is what you could potentially get in this property. Absolutely. And then you have your own narrative that you're working with. And then is there anything else that you do as a part of that process to try to go out to the market and find a buyer once you get in contract?
I mean, actually, I kind of leave it up to him until I get on the disposition side. So I'm pretty much, since I feel like, I'm newer than him. So I want to start off on the acquisition side, which is everybody, it's kind of harder doing the cold calling and all that hard work stuff. And that way, when I get more in tune with the process, and I can switch to the disposition side, and I can have both of them down, But I mean, I still will have partners. I mean, trust me, going into this business with relationships is the best way to do it, honestly. For me, you know, if you want to do it your way, you kind of want to find your own buyer, whatever the case may be, each his own. But for me, it's like 50-50 is cool with me. I mean, I'd rather just learn the business before I venture out for myself. So basically, like, once I get that in tune and I learn, you know, then I can kind of, you know, start doing things on my own, you know. But always, I do the acquisition side and I kind of switch it over to my disposition.
Yeah, how we've been doing it basically is I've been more of the disposition side, and that's again my main business model is helping out like other wholesalers, like to help them go through the process. And like in the Bay Area, I consider myself, I've really dialed in my numbers, and I like really am pretty good now at figuring out what is a deal and what isn't a deal based on the information, just because that's what I've been focusing on, is like being the guy in the Bay Area that's like, hey, give me a property, I can tell you exactly what you need to buy it for, and I'll find a buyer for it. And that's like my niche that I think I really like being in, because that really gives confidence to other wholesalers who are newer to be able to like be like, okay, this is what I need to get it at. Because I feel like when you're starting, that's one of the biggest anxieties as a wholesaler. Is like, how do I even know if this is going to be a deal?
Right,
like, I have no idea what this needs to sell at. I have no idea what I need to buy this at. So yeah, that's my main business model. And I think going off your question was like, what do you do after you get the contract? Mm-hmm. So I have like a very detailed process that I more or less learned from the mentorship, which is basically like everything that most people already know. Like, you do an email blast, and then what I do is I do a text blast to everybody. Then I like follow up with them, and like I use and this gets into a whole other thing with systems, but having your systems in check. Having systems, in my opinion, is the difference between being self-employed and being a business owner. Mm-hmm. Because I use MailChimp, and MailChimp will tell me who's seen what emails, and how many times they've seen it. Exactly. So then I can start cold calling whoever is like, hey, you were looking at this property. What did you think of it? And a lot of times that'll make them be like, oh yeah, sorry, I looked at that a bunch. Tell me about it again. And then they get interested and they come back. And there's a whole process that you got to do in order to, like, get buyers interested. I think I see way too many wholesalers slacking on the disposition side. Oh. They think, oh, I have a property, I'm gonna email it out. If nobody responds, then it's not a deal. And it's like, no, like, you have to do just as much work convincing a seller to sell it to you as convincing a buyer to buy it from you.
Very
You're
true.
still selling it, mm-hmm. right? So, they're both really important, and I think, and maybe it might be that I'm biased because that's all I do is the dispositions at this point now, but that's something I've seen slacking, I think, in the industry that I think a lot more people should be looking at, is how to disposition a property as well.
Okay. And so what's your biggest deal thus far?
So, here's the thing. So it depends on what you consider biggest. If we're just talking money amount,
that's what everybody's going to be concerned with. So yes.
Okay, so I mean, money amount with a deal that I've actually closed is $35K, and I've done a ton of deals that are like $30K-ish. I have one in escrow, but here's the thing. I don't know if I really want to say it, because here's the thing with deals that are in escrow, and this is also something I've learned the hard way. Just because it's in escrow with a buyer's EMD does not mean it's going to close necessarily.
Right. Exactly.
So it's something that like I'm like tentative about saying, but like my biggest deal that I've closed is a $35K deal.
Okay. How long did it take you to find that deal and then get it from signed contract to close of escrow?
So I mean, that one was it's funny. Sometimes, like, again, the money amount doesn't really have to do with how easy the deal is. That one was actually incredibly simple. I knew this bird dog that I developed a relationship with. He just didn't know how to wholesale. He didn't really want to wholesale, and he's like, yeah, look at this lead, and I'm like, wow, that's definitely a deal. And then so he just passed it off to me. I signed the contract. I found a buyer within 3 days, and we closed in 2 weeks. It was actually one of my easiest deals. Usually there's a bunch of BS in between all of that. to be honest. But
What's typically the biggest hiccup or challenge in a deal?
that's an interesting question. There's so many different hiccups that can happen. I don't know if there's like a one biggest one.
Is it
Hard to
commonplace for a buyer that you secure to flake on the deal? Like they get into it, they get excited, and then they see kind of reality and then back out? Or
It's not commonplace. Okay. So this is another thing too that I do that we can talk about a little bit. This is all disposition side, and we should. But anyway, so it. I have a very strict process that I stick to, that was taught to us in the course, that I every time I don't stick to it is when something fucks up, or excuse me, something screws up. Then something screws up. And the strict process is being like, look.
All right, so I guess the next question I'd like to ask, or probably the final question, is what would you tell a new wholesaler their first step should be in terms of getting started?
You can do it.
You want me to do it?
Yeah.
Okay.
You start with it.
Dang, bro. But anyway, let's go. What was the question again?
So what would you tell a wholesaler like their first step should be, or what's the most important thing that they should know about in order to get started in wholesaling?
Okay, first I would say read, whatever you can, like Rich Dad Poor Dad. Some YouTube content like Max Maxwell, TTP, Brent Daniels, Jamil Damji. Kind of watch those videos and get like a grasp knowledge of what wholesaling is and how you can go about it and things of that nature. That's pretty much it, bro. Just YouTube University. That's what I did, man. YouTube University.
As I was saying earlier in the video, like the first thing I tell wholesalers is like focus on mindset type of stuff. Whatever that means for you, it'll be different because everybody has their own different problems and issues that they've inherited from whatever past they've had, and like what is going to be like the hardest part for them. For me, what I would tell anybody, and this is just entrepreneurship in general, is having faith that it's going to be okay, that like everything's going to work out. Like it's really hard to switch from a starvation mindset when you are starving and you literally have nothing, to switching to a prosperity mindset because you don't actually have any physical evidence that you're going to make it, that you're going to be able to do these deals.
Exactly.
Like, even though you're watching Max Maxwell do it, it's like, is he fake? You've never met him. Is any of this real? And so it takes a little bit of faith and like jumping over that cliff. And while you're falling, it's terrible, but you got to have the faith you're going to land on the ground safely. And that could be different for anybody. Like, I'm not very religious, but it can be religious faith. It can be having faith in a higher power, or just having faith in your own abilities, in yourself. Whatever it is, you just got to trust in something that might not necessarily be like 100% like logical or whatever, but it doesn't really matter. The point is that will push you through being able to get through 4 to 6 months of cold calling and not getting a single contract, or like just the beginnings of learning how to do it. And the most important thing is keeping that mindset and keeping like not going down the spiral of like, I can't do this, like all that terrible negative stuff. That is what will kill you. Like, you are your greatest enemy. If you can just beat yourself, you've already won. Like, I honestly think like the world is damn near yours if you can do that.
Yeah, because there are a lot of times that even in flipping or even in real estate investing where you're buying and holding, there are a lot of times it's going to get dark, it's going to be hard, and I think what he just said is probably the most important part of this. Is just, you've got to have that mindset that you're gonna do it until you either die or you get successful. So I mean, that's you've got to have that approach.
Yeah, exactly. And And like we were saying before, I mean, entrepreneurship feels like you're just banging your head against a wall for 8 hours a day, 8 for 6 months straight, and then hopefully finally you just break the wall with your head, and then it feels like, and then it's funny once you've done it for like a year, you're like, oh damn, there was a hammer right next to me. If I just used the hammer, we would have broken that wall a lot quicker.
Oh, yeah.
But like but you have to, but like it's all part of the process where you have to hit your head first before you realize and start getting hammers and actually do it really efficiently. So
Yeah.
And knowing your why, it has to be bigger than you. If it's just for the cars, the clothes, or whatever the case may be, whatever you want, it has to be bigger than that. Like for me, it's my future family and my family. That's my why. So whenever I give in or think about giving in to giving up, I think on those things and they keep me going forward. So just figure out what your why is, and it'll push you forward, guaranteed.
Okay. Definitely, I can definitely relate to the why. I've talked about that before in videos, so the why is definitely important.
again, like how I was talking about earlier, my main business model is helping wholesalers trying to figure out how to get deals and how to make it work. So I want you guys to know my number is 510-393-9393. That's not fake. That's my actual real number. Hit me up. I want to like help you guys out. Even if you're not in California, like please, like just text me. Like tell me if you got questions. And if you need help closing the deal, if you need help dispositioning the deal, I wanna like be there to like help it so that we all make money in the end. So I want to throw that out there too.
Excellent. Yeah. I'll definitely put your contact info in the comments as well. People can reach out and kind of use you guys as mentors, as business associates, all of that. I think that's appropriate and very needed right now for a lot of folks that want to get into real estate.
100%.
So all the names that they've been giving in terms of information or resources, I'm going to put those in the comments. So definitely check that out. Go ahead and get started on wholesaling. I think these are great examples of people that have found a niche in real estate and they're making it work for them. And you can do the same. I can't do it because I'm an agent, but I think it's for anybody that's looking to start out with kind of a lean budget. I think this is a great way to do it. But until then, I want to thank you guys for coming on. Until the next time, I'll talk to you soon, and thanks for watching.